Bonjour.
Coucou, welcome to KJ and Tony Move to France. In today's video, we are talking all about Paris arrondissements. What are they? The sites that you may want to see and where they're located in the arrondissements, and our favorite arrondissement. And this is something that we learned about on our very first trip to Paris in terms of that there are these arrondissements, and when we met the couple in the cafe on our first trip there, they talked about what their favorite arrondissement is and that they've lived in different arrondissements. So I think it's something that if you are planning to travel to Paris that you'll hopefully find beneficial. So let's start with what are Paris arrondissements, Tony?
Arrondissements are administrative divisions. They have their own town hall, their own mayor, but they do completely report to the mayor of Paris, and they have to follow all her edicts.
Arrondissements are not to be confused with neighborhoods. There can be several neighborhoods within one arrondissement. For example, Saint-Germain-des-Prés is a neighborhood that's a part of an arrondissement.
And arrondissements are not named, they're numbered.
And a good way to determine what arrondissement you are in is twofold, two ways. So one way is to just picture the structure. The first arrondissement is in the very center of Paris, and then all the other arrondissements sort of span out from the first arrondissement in a clockwise fashion, ending with the 20th arrondissement in the east. And a way in which, if you're walking around Paris to be able to tell where you are, is to look for a street sign, typically a street sign that is attached to a building, and I'll show you a picture of what it looks like, that states the rue, the road that you're on. Generally right above the name of the street will be the number of the arrondissement you are in. All right, are you ready to learn about the 20 arrondissements?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go.
Okay, the first arrondissement is right in the center of Paris, and it spans from about Pont-Neuf up to La Halle. It includes Vendôme, which is a shopping district of very high-end Parisian brands, as well as the Louvre, which is the most famous museum in the world, the most visited museum in the world.
Okay, moving on to the second arrondissement, which is the smallest of all of the arrondissements. And it is generally known for its covered passages, some of the most beautiful covered passages in Paris. And it's also a generally overlooked business district that houses the old stock market. So everything is kind of centered around this old stock market.
The third arrondissement is home to the first Chinese community in Paris. So if you're looking for authentic Asian food, this is a good place to go. There are also several museums there, most notably the Picasso Museum. So it's very much an artsy area.
Moving on to the fourth arrondissement. The fourth is considered one of the best districts to stay in for visitors to Paris. It is the home of Notre Dame and Hotel de Ville, and it is lined with historic, beautiful mansions and gardens. And
including Victor Hugo's home. And Hotel de Ville is very well known because it's the city hall, but most notably, it was the steps of Hotel de Ville where Charles de Gaulle announced the liberation of Paris towards the end of World War II. The fifth arrondissement includes the Latin Quarter. It's a big part of the fifth arrondissement. And the Latin Quarter is named the Latin Quarter not because of Latin music or Latin food or anything like that. It's named the Latin Quarter because there are a lot of famous schools there. And when it was named, schools were taught in Latin and they were teaching Latin. And the Sorbonne, one of the most famous schools in the world, is in the Latin Quarter. So there's also a lot of great restaurants, a lot of great things to do, chic small cinemas. There's also great bookstores, English bookstores, if that's what you're looking for. It's a really good area. We lived there for a month and we loved it.
Arrondissement number 6. My personal favorite arrondissement, and I believe it's your favorite arrondissement as well. Even though we love the Latin Quarter, the 5th is great as well. But if I had to choose between the 5th and the 6th, it would definitely be the 6th. The 6th is the home to the neighborhood Saint-Germain-des-Prés, which, like we mentioned before, there can be several neighborhoods within an arrondissement. So Saint-Germain-des-Prés is in the 6th. It's also the home of 2 of the most famous cafes in all of Paris. And they are, let me see if I get this correct, Café de Flore and Café de Flore, and then Café Les du Magot.
And you don't want to miss these 2 cafes. These are cafes that Ernest Hemingway, Picasso, all the artists and writers of the 20s used to hang out in. Both of these cafes are over 100 years old, and they are landmarks in Paris, and you want to go there and at least get a coffee and a croissant.
And the best time to go to those cafes would be first thing in the morning. We stayed our second trip to Paris. We stayed in the Montana, which is right next door to Café de Flore, and the first thing in the morning was the only time, and very early, that there wasn't a line.
And Parisians don't mind waiting in bad weather. They'll get in line to not only these 2 places, other places, and it could be pouring rain, and there'll be 20 or 30 people waiting to get in. So make sure you go in the morning.
And it's definitely worth it, even if you have to wait online.
Yes.
And the 6th is also home to one of our favorite places in Paris, which is Luxembourg Gardens.
That's right. And Luxembourg Gardens we kind of happened upon. I had a computer problem that I needed to get fixed. And of course, I did what every American would do. I Googled computer repair and found this place, and I walked to it, and it was across the street from Luxembourg Gardens. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful place.
Yeah, a must-see.
And we've done other videos from Luxembourg Gardens.
Yes.
The next is the 7th arrondissement. And within the 7th arrondissement is the Eiffel Tower. And of course, everybody's heard of the Eiffel Tower worldwide. It is the focal point of Paris. You can see the Eiffel Tower from almost anywhere in Paris. I like to watch it from Pont Neuf, even though it's pretty far away, but when it's lit up on a beautiful night, it's just gorgeous. In the 7th arrondissement, there's also a lot of famous museums. The Rodin Museum, for one.
Moving on to the 8th arrondissement. The 8th is considered the district of fashion and luxury. So, of course, it's the home of the Champs-Élysées and the Arc de Triomphe.
It's also one of my favorites, and I could say that about almost every one of these. But there's nothing like walking up the Champs-Élysées towards the Arc de Triomphe, and it's 1.8 miles long, and it's just a gorgeous walk with shops on both sides of the street, the flagships of every major brand. And in the evening, it's also beautiful with the little twinkling lights and all the trees. It's a beautiful area.
And there is nothing like the view from the top of the Arc de Triomphe. I would say it even, in my opinion, it rivals certainly the Eiffel Tower in the view, the perspective that you get of all of Paris. It's just magnificent. And
from the top, you're actually outside.
Yeah.
You're actually in the elements. So that also gives it a different perspective. And of course, the Eiffel Tower is right in front of you. Even though it's not as close as it looks, it's so big it looks very close.
Yeah. So definitely a must-see.
The 9th arrondissement is home of the main opera, the Opéra Garnier. And it is an area that has gone through a lot of changes over the centuries, going from intellectual area to a more seedy area. But the Opera House is really the focal point of the whole arrondissement.
The 10th arrondissement is considered to be one of the coolest districts in all of Paris. Unfortunately, I don't think we've ever been
No, we haven't.
anywhere in the 10th. It is the home of two of the major train stations in Paris, the Gare du Nord and I'm so careful to say these correctly, I know I'm probably not, the Gare de l'Est. And so those two main train stations, it's also known for having a lot of vintage shops, even though all of Paris is known to have vintage shops. This particular district is known for vintage. It's also known for the Canal Saint-Martin. And it is known for this particular canal, and it has metal footbridges that cross over the canal. So definitely something that we should check out in the future, since we have not been to the 10th.
Sure. The 11th arrondissement is actually the inspiration for Victor Hugo's Les Miserables. In the old days, and when I say old days, I'm talking about the 18th century, it's where factories were built, a lot of textile factories, and a lot of those factories still exist. A lot have been converted to hotels and restaurants, and it's also now a very trendy area, especially for young people. Attracts a lot of young people for the nightlife there.
Moving on to the 12th arrondissement, it is considered one of the main residential areas of Paris, and it is considered also to be one of the greenest districts. It also has considered to have the best market in all of Paris and the best promenade.
We saw a lot of good markets in Paris. It'd be hard to top those.
I know, I think we need to go to the 12th just to see
Yeah,
the
we
best
need to test it
market.
out.
We've not been to the 12th yet, so we'll be going there in October.
Yeah. The 13th arrondissement is the home of the French National Library and also the Mural program of Paris, where Parisians invited street artists from around the world to come and paint the buildings and give color to the city of Paris.
So it's definitely a must-see.
Absolutely.
If you are someone that is interested in art.
Sure.
The 14th arrondissement is the home of Montparnasse. So Montparnasse is a neighborhood within the 14th, and it is where there's a main train station in Montparnasse. We're very familiar with it because it's where we changed trains when we were coming in from Versailles and also going out to Versailles from Paris. It is also the home of the very famous catacombs, and also the home of what is considered to be one of the most beautiful parks in Paris, which is called Parc Montsouris.
The 15th arrondissement is the largest in Paris, both in population and in area. It's very much a family area. It's a little bit outside of Paris. It's as the arrondissements are getting further and further away from the center of Paris, and there are not a lot of major attractions there. Most people live there and go in further into the city for the attractions.
The 16th arrondissement is considered the posh district. It is the home of many upscale residential neighborhoods and also some of the best hotels in all of Paris. Many five-star hotels are located in the 6th arrondissement.
The 17th arrondissement is in the northwest of Paris, and it's highlighted by the Batignolles neighborhood, which is a great area to walk around, take strolls. It's beautiful. In the 1860s, this arrondissement was annexed by the city of Paris. Prior to that, it had been a royal hunting ground, and the city of Paris just took it over in 1860, I believe it was.
Okay, we're getting there. Only a few more to go. 18th arrondissement is, again, one of my favorites. I think one of our favorites,
Sure.
although not the favorite. It is also a must-see arrondissement, as it is the home to Sacré-Cœur. It is home to the Dali Museum, the Montmartre Museum, and the Place de Terre.
I do have to give you a warning, though. If you take the subway there, the subway is very deep underground. And if you don't look for an elevator, you could be walking up 6 stories to ground level. So if you take the subway there, look for an elevator, because about 4 stories up, you're going to be pretty exhausted.
You may want to check out the video that we did on Montmartre, which will give you a good idea of what that may be like for you if you miss the elevator.
And that whole area, you could spend more than a whole day there.
Yeah.
They've got great restaurants there,
beautiful.
great museums, and of course, Sacré-Cœur, from where you have the best view of Paris.
Absolutely.
The 19th Arrondissement is a trendy area now, in part because there's not a lot of crowds there, but there are a lot of beautiful parks and gardens, and people move there to be able to have a quieter existence. But the crowds, I believe, are starting to come in because a lot of people want that kind of living experience.
And finally, the 20th Arrondissement. The 20th Arrondissement is located in the northeast corner of Paris, and it is considered to be one of the cheapest areas to live in Paris, which makes it very popular with young Parisian couples. And even though it's considered to not really generally be a touristy area, there is one attraction that's located in the 20th that does attract a lot of tourists, and that is, I know I'm going to say it wrong, so I'm going to leave it up to you, the cemetery where a lot of famous people, including Jim Morrison, are buried.
The Père Lachaise cemetery, which has a lot of poets, writers, artists, and for contemporaries of my era, Jim Morrison is buried there.
So there you have it. Those are the 20 arrondissements, and I don't know, did you think we would ever
I wasn't sure, but it was certainly worth it because I learned a lot. There's a lot of information in here in arrondissements that I wasn't aware of. And even though we lived there and went there several times, there's parts of Paris we've never been to. So the next time we go in October, I'm certainly going to hit some of these places.
And hopefully that's been the benefit for you if you are someone who has been to Paris before, maybe even several times. Maybe there's an arrondissement that you haven't been to yet. So hopefully you've found this information helpful in some way, shape, or form.
And if you have enjoyed this video, please don't forget to press the subscribe button.
And also, I'd like to share with you that we do have this Patreon membership that you are invited to become a part of. I'd like to just say thank you so much to our newest Patreon member, and that's Debbie in Kansas. And then I also would like to give a shout out to both Anne and Sharon, who are also Patreon members. Thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we're very just grateful to have you as a part of our family. And the Patreon account, just so you know, is a private membership where we post videos that we don't post to our YouTube channels, some behind the scenes footage of our travels and also our everyday life. We also include some blog posts that are not a part of our public blog, and we give shout outs to people who become a part of our membership family.
And sometimes we talk about our future plans before they're public knowledge.
Exactly.
So you also get a chance to give us input.
And you also help to support our efforts in
Sure.
what we're doing here with our channel. So thank you again to all of our patrons. And that's it for today. Thanks for sticking around to the end. A bientôt.
Au revoir.